Yes.
8:30?
The school, yeah.
I've had one of those in my life, and I got like
their
a
electric
super weird, like,
They're
oh,
gonna
feeling
show us
for
the
it.
new
Mustang Mach-E.
Not for me.
Supposed to be pretty nice. Oh, the guy's gonna be cruising with the shades on.
Drive, I think, right?
See something blur past City Hall, that's a guy.
Give one $50 though.
This will be fun.
Yeah.
Dr. Dre. Don't make fun of Dr. Dre.
I was gonna say, you let your meetings
See a doctor.
All right, good morning, everyone. It's 7 a.m., February 16th, 2022. We'll call the meeting of the Fergus Falls City Council Committee of the Whole to order. Roll call, please.
Here.
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 Fergus absent. Kwame.
Here.
Cooper.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Ferguson.
Here.
And we have a quorum. First item of discussion this morning is the Fire Relief Association service benefits, and we'll call on Luke Draxton and Chief Maka.
Usually goes first, so I'll answer questions.
Good morning.
Morning. Yeah, and I believe you guys have the resolution letter, or have received that, but good morning, Mayor and City Council members. Thanks for meeting with us again this year. But the city, or the Fergus Falls Fire Department, is requesting for the Relief Association increase to our per year service pension level benefit by an increase of $350 from the current $5,500 per year of service up to $5,850 per year of service. What we look at as of 12/31 is our investment balance in the SBI compared to our vested liabilities, which is our retirement pension account for all of our firefighters that are active and in good standing. Our funded ratio that we typically look at is we like to keep it at obviously 100%. And the parameters we set with the city were if at 115%, we can request an increase of $50 per year. If at 125, we can request a higher amount. This past year, our funded ratio was 156%. So with the investment performance we've had over the last 3 to 4 years, I think we've averaged about 17% going back to 3 years, and then this last year it was 13%. So a strong investment performance, a big cushion within our account. So what we do is look at the 12/31 value. If we go up to this 5850 amount, it brings our funded ratio from 155 down to 136. That's just adding another year of service for everybody. So well within our guidelines, we've got a very large cushion in there. And again, we look at all factors from a 15% return to a 0% return to a 15% loss. So we kind of run the whole gamut of what the numbers might look like. So our request to the city is an increase of $350 to our per year service pension level effective March 1st. And that's what we're here for today.
I'll offer that resolution, Your Honor.
Thank you, Jim. Second, Scott. Any questions? Or all in favor of moving this to the council Monday night, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same side. That motion carries. Thank you, Luke.
Good job, Luke. Thank you.
Tuesday night, I guess, is our council meeting, upcoming meeting. Second item is also dealing with the fire department. It's a donation to the fire department. Now we'll call on our chief, Ryan Muckhow. Good morning, Ryan.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Come to you this morning just for the acceptance of a $500 donation from the Lake Region Electric Cooperative Roundup, Operation Roundup that they have. And we've received this a couple times over the years. Usually it's around $250. This year we got double the amount, so it's $500. So we'd be looking to add that in addition to what we received from the ethanol plant here last year to fund some equipment purchases for technical rescue, which would be rope rescue, confined space.
Thanks, Chief. Always good to accept a donation. Someone like to
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
accept that?
I'll second him.
Thank you, Anthony. Tom, any questions for Chief Muckhow? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Chief. Item number 3 is the Lake Region Arts Council grant discussion. We'll call on our Community Development Manager, Claire Beck. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you. Yes, the city was approached by Mr. Kim Embretson, who is a local artist who is deeply embedded in the arts community here in Fergus Falls. He has been inspired by the work that the city is doing along the riverfront to bring forward a project that would involve a lot of different artists in the community to do work that would be inspired by the river, to be shown probably in the market structure at some point when it's completed, and then in other businesses in the area. The original conversation was for the city to be the fiscal host, but after talking to the grant rep from Lake Region Arts Council, it makes more sense for the city to actually be the applicant, but Kim will manage the entire project, so it would still essentially be a fiscal host relationship with the finance department taking the money and then dispersing it after the grant is completed. So my request is that you allow the Community Development Department to work with Mr. Kim Embretson to submit a grant to Lake Region Arts Council for the River Is project.
And just to clarify, I think there's no match. This is a straight grant that we're applying for to the late.
Straight grant, no match. Yep, up to about $15,000 is what Kim is looking for.
Yeah, well, thanks for partnering with Kim, and thanks to him for stepping forward. And, sounds to me like an encouraging project. Someone like to offer that? Thank you,
Second.
Caroline. Thank you, Anthony. People have any questions for Clara? All in favor of moving this to the council, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. A motion carries. Thanks, Clara.
Ben, I did have a question about
Yeah,
this.
please, Scott.
Was the intention of this to get it together before the 150-year stuff happens this summer, or is this just going to happen someday? I didn't see a target date for when this was going to come
Right.
together.
It has to happen within the next year. That's how long the Lake Region Art Council grants go for. So his intent, I think, is to start as soon as he gets word that he has the grant. And he's working with an advisory committee of artists already to start planning like who they're going to do the outreach to and things like that. So it'll get going fairly quickly. He's already been having these conversations. So I think he'll be done by the summer with a show potentially still in December.
Okay,
So,
thanks.
yeah.
Thanks, Clara. And Clara, you're up again with a market study on city property.
Yes. So, we're going to play a game this morning, sort of. Think back to 1996. You're in the waiting room of your favorite dentist's office, and you pick up a book, and it's a choose your own adventure book. So, we've been talking about the lot behind the liquor store for a while now. If you recall, back in January, we did an update where we had 2 LOIs for that land. Council was leaning toward, can you skip to the next slide for me, Lynn? Thank you. There's the picture of it off of Field Street there. We had gotten a market analysis that was between 125 and 150, and council at that time was leaning toward not going below market value. Unfortunately, the offers that were on the table at that point were quite a bit lower than what we had been given as a market analysis. And we chose not to do any return offers, but wait to see if we got any revised offers back from the applicants at that point, and we did not get any. Go to the next. Thank you. So, since that time, I continued conversations with the real estate agent who gave us the market analysis in the first place, and she indicated that after talking to a client, she no longer felt sure of the numbers that she had given us initially. So at that point, I was like, well, I think we should probably look for another market analysis and do a little bit of our own background just to make sure that we're sure on the price that we're going to be asking for if we decide to move ahead and try to sell this property at this time. So I worked with our economic development partners at Greater Fergus Falls and got a different real estate agent to give us a new market analysis, which got returned to me just a couple weeks ago. And they came back with a price at $111,532.48, which is very exact. And also returned some reasoning for why they gave us that number, which I felt was actually very helpful to see. And I will tell you what the reasoning is in just a second here. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. There we go. Okay. So the value that they assigned was based on the smaller scale of the lot, which makes it more challenging for some large major retailers to use. The lot itself is located behind a current business on the more traveled access road, reducing visibility and accessibility. Close proximity to an already established national retailer helps increase value of the subject lot, and lack of Fergus Falls comps makes exact pricing challenging, but also increases value due to scarcity. So I thought that gave some really good context for the number that they provided for us. Next slide, please. So this is where we get to choose our adventure and decide where we want to go with this property. Adventure 1. Council moves not to accept any offers on this lot and by, extension, other lots that we're also looking at potentially selling in the future. Clarifying your stance, saying will not accept lower than market value for future transactions. You then may decide to submit counteroffers that reflect the market value of the lot to Riverbend Trail LLC and to Pure Aesthetics, which are the two parties that had shown interest in this lot originally. And wait for revised offers to come in. Adventure 2. Council moves to accept offers below market value and chooses a use for the lot that's based on the LOIs already received. Council directs the city attorney and staff to negotiate a purchase agreement for the project deemed to be the best fit for the property. Adventure 3. Council decides to publicly list the property for sale at a price council deems acceptable and waits for offers. Adventure 4, council undertakes an RFP process for the lot in order to ensure the highest and best use of the land. Or Adventure 5, council takes no action because you are not obligated to sell this land at this time if you don't want to. So, those are the options as I see them. You may mix and match as you see fit, but I think taking some sort of action on this land would be a good move for us this morning.
Thanks, Clara. Anyone feeling adventurous? So, just maybe a question to get the conversation kicked off. We've had, when we sell land as a city, I often question, when people come to us and give us an offer, it doesn't feel like it's open. It's the entire community knows that the piece of property is for sale. Sometimes there's best uses that are, all those things to consider, but just option 3, adventure 3,
Thank you. Yes.
just to publicly list the land, there's 2 offers that have been on the table. We have a new market analysis. What would be the downsides to just saying, put a for sale sign in the lot and say, here's the price, and maybe council has different thoughts. I'm just thinking out loud, I guess, this morning as I think about this, just to put a for sale sign. We have a new, we know there's 2 people listed and sell the property. But I'll just kick the conversation off.
I would agree with Adventure 3. I mean, I think doing nothing is not an option. And I think doing an RFP will cost money and time. And I don't think it'll necessarily yield anything. Where I think, as you say, we've got 2 offers. They're below market value. We put it up for sale, and if the offers come, at least it's fair. And if we end up selling it below market value after publicly putting it for sale, then at least at that point we would be doing it, in public view.
I think that's a good point. And if we list the property for sale and then we get a below market value, then I think to the taxpayers we could justify, hey, this was open to the market. We didn't look at one specific offer.
Yep.
It was open to the public, and that's really that's what the.
Because I think utilizing the property as opposed to it just sitting there, and we have to maintain it, mow it, etc. If we could get somebody on it that pays property tax, that would be a better use of the land than us mowing it.
And then I think going back to a previous conversation that you had, as we get an offer, we can look at the entire package as far as, are they asking for other assistance? What's the entire cost to the city and the future benefit to the city, the use of the land, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of competing factors, but I agree with you, Anthony. Yeah.
I don't disagree. I think that makes a lot of sense, and we can kind of justify our reasoning for accepting a below offer. So I completely agree with that. The other thing I'd ask is in conjunction with this, I know this is the only parcel that has been identified by 2 user groups. Is there other land that we own that we should, put on for sale as well? So it's not just one piece. Maybe there's 8 chunks of land that we should probably list all at once. That way people know what's available, and we can start, getting rid of some land that's not in use that we could reuse. That would be my only other thought or question.
Sure. Clara?
There's another piece of property that we had discussed, I think it was like almost a year ago now, but the piece of land that the United Prairie Foundation was looking at putting their greenhouse on, that one has continued to get little bits of interest, no actual offers, but people see it and know that it is there, and know that there is an entity who does have a lease agreement on it, so that might be one to consider. We do use it for snow storage currently, I believe, so we'd have to work out some way to mitigate the huge amounts of snow that we have to move around, but
So we
think it's
it'll only be
feasible.
available in about September then?
You have a short window.
Yeah, I guess that was kind of my question too, is with all city property then, is it something where, you could essentially pick like 2 pieces of land, put for sale signs on it, if and when they go, then we can kind of deem some other properties if that's, rather than throwing all of them, throwing them all on there, but
Sure.
I don't know. That was, my question too, is if we do it for one piece, what about the other one?
So we turn to page 53, Clara.
To what degree would the Port Authority be involved? Because the Port Authority sells land too. And there's big chunks of land that are essentially under their umbrella.
yep.
And so I'm just kind of in the dark on how that would either be involved in this or not, or in other things or not. And then just for what it's worth, as far as property for sale, we do have that RTC. So there's that too.
I remember that.
That's right.
No, that's a really good question. The Port Authority does have lots of land, well, not lots of land, but several parcels of land that are available. We don't currently have like for sale signs stuck on them, but they're listed through Greater Fergus Falls as available options. And at this point, I don't know for sure that any of the city-owned lots are listed the same way. So we could look into doing it that way, like getting the city lots listed the same way that the Port Authority ones are, and then also putting for sale signs on some of the Port Authority land if we want to, or just like doing a more concerted marketing effort for the land for both Port Authority and city-owned.
All right, so any other questions of Clara? This gives you some direction, I think. Do you want a motion that we go with adventure number 3?
I'd make the motion to go with adventure number 3.
All right.
Second that, Your Honor.
Thank you for
Motion
sticking
and a
with
second
us.
for adventure 3. All,
Come up with a price.
I think you have the,
Yeah, if
Based on the-
council, maybe that can be part of the motion, is that the new market value that we were given is the price.
you just round it up.
Just round it up?
Round it up, yeah.
You don't want me to list it for 0.38 cents? Okay.
All right, so we have a motion to bring this to the council on Tuesday night. All in favor of that motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you, Clara. Item number 5 is Public Improvement 5958, dealing with Campus View Development Project.
Thank you.
Morning,
Good
Brian.
morning, Your Honor and council members. Yes, this memo is in regards to the Campus View Estates Development Public Improvement 5958. The bid opening for this project is set for Wednesday, March 2nd at 2 p.m. in these council chambers. Once we receive these bids, we'll tabulate and update the final assessment rolls, and those will be sent out to the property owner. Notices and the publication will also be issued prior to the March 21st, 2022 final cost hearing, which is the action I'm requesting. A recommendation to award the construction contract will be contingent on the adoption of these assessment rolls and the council's acceptance of the development agreement between the city and the developer. So at this time, Your Honor, I'm requesting to set the final cost hearing date for Public Improvement 5958 for March 21st, 2022.
And we can bring this to the council. Are we setting the date right now, or are we bring this to the council? Yeah, so we're actually gonna set the date today. So,
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
thank you, Jim. Thank you, Brent. All in favor of setting that final cost hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Next item is dealing with the airport. And again, Brian Yuval.
Yes, a little while ago, it wasn't past few months, the city council authorized me to submit a grant for an airport rescue grant program through the FAA in the amount of $32,000. Before you right now is that we have received an agreement between the FAA and the city to accept these funds in the amount of $32,000. Similar to the airport coronavirus response grant program, these funds could be used, it's a standalone, but used to really to the operations personnel, cleaning, sanitization, janitorial service for basically combating the spread of pathogens at airports. So
I've laid it out to previously, I kind of gave you a little summary of previous COVID relief funds and everything through the FAA and the current action. I've also attached the agreement in your packet as well. I just want to note in the packet, it does say the city has till February 7th to accept this offer. We just received it January 24th. I did talk to the FAA and we're fine with that acceptance date to extend it. So at this time, I'm requesting to accept the Airport Rescue Grant Program offer from the FAA in the amount of $32,000.
Thank you, Brian. We can do that with a motion to the council. Thanks, Tom.
Second.
Thanks, Brent. Any questions for Brian? Yes, Scott, go ahead.
The information that was in our packet is many pages, and I guess my question is fairly simple. When you've got something that requires this much bureaucracy and paperwork to pull off, is it really worth going through the effort? Now, 32,000 sounds like it probably is, but this has got so much in the way of potential red tape attached to it. I just wonder, to what degree, or do we come out even on this, or do we come out ahead?
Well, just like others, if we don't think, there's always, if we decline this offer, but this grant agreement that's before you in your packet is very similar to the entitlement grant offerings as far as all the red tape included in them. So we're pretty accustomed to some of these items that's enclosed in that agreement. So, and I usually, have the assistance of SCH too to help make sure for the closeout documentation, all those things, that everything's covered when we're doing the final submission. But yes, I agree, they're quite extensive.
Yeah, there's a lot of the stuff in there, you wouldn't think it has anything to do with the airport specifically. It's really something, so, okay.
Yes, it is.
Thanks, Scott.
For you. I would just like to, again, take the opportunity to thank Brian for all of his hard work on this. I've talked to Sander and some members. Microphone. I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank Brian for all of his work on this. I've talked with Sander and members of the Airport Advisory Committee, all of whom have told me that Brian's just done a great job, been on point, and really a good partnership there. So thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thanks. So we have a motion and a second to bring this to the council. All in favor of that motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Item number 7 deals with redistricting. We'll call our city administrator, Andrew Brumseth. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning, Your Honor, council members, committee members. We're going to play a game this morning. You get to choose your adventure.
Who gets to keep their seat?
No, all kidding aside, every 10 years we have to redraw the boundaries of our election districts, which in the city of Fergus Falls is 4 wards and 2 precincts within each of those wards for 8 total precincts. This happens after the census and reflects the city's population as of April 1st, 2020. You all know that the city's population as of April 1st, 2020 was deemed to be 14,117 people. So it was neat to hit that 14,000 population mark for the first time, and now staff has been working hard to identify a map that equally distributes the ward boundaries to include those people. I will just mention real quick, the state released their maps yesterday, so if you probably read something about it in the paper or on the news, it's kind of been an interesting 20 hours that was released yesterday at noon, and the timing is just perfect for us to have this conversation this morning. For cities that have council members that are elected by ward, our redistricting process must be complete 19 weeks prior to the primary election, which in this case in 2022 is by March 29th. What we need to do related to these these boundary changes is have the city attorney draft changes to the city code, which would establish these new wards and boundaries. We also need to, on Tuesday night, solidify and establish where the polling places are going to be within the 4 wards. As I mentioned, staff from administration, community development, and GIS have been working closely, not only internally, but also with the county auditor. We want to ensure that our boundaries correspond appropriately with the commissioner boundaries from the county. And I will note, this is probably 99.8% complete. There may be a slight shift in precinct lines in Ward 1 as the county finalizes their maps to ensure that If there's a portion of Ward 1 that remains within a commissioner district other than the Fergus Falls Commissioner District, that will all fall within one precinct. So we don't have a major amount of chaos or source of chaos on election day where there's only a few people from a certain precinct having to vote there, others here, and have multiple ballots within the same precinct. So there's the opportunity for that line to shift ever so slightly, but we think this is pretty darn close to where we're at. If you look at the bottom of the memo here, we're very close on having even precincts, which is the most important part of this process. Our staff did a very good job of identifying lines that would accommodate this even split. And really, when we look at this, there's two goals in mind. One is to get these numbers as close as we possibly can, and two is to use major roads or boundaries so it's easy for folks to know what ward they fall into. We don't give consideration to anything else beyond that. So that goes to say that the proposed boundaries may impact some current city council members in the ward that they currently live in. You all can kind of look at the map and see where you're at. I think it may impact three of you if I know where you all live correctly. So with that being said, if you did change wards and you're currently within a term, you finish out your existing term, and if you're going to run again when your term expires, you would have to run within the new ward. If your term is expiring this year, you would have to be on the ballot in the new ward if the council adopts these maps. I just want to make that clear for everybody. And then also, we have to redistrict our wards within 60 days of the state being redistricted, and that's why I mentioned earlier that yesterday was the day that was released. We have 60 days to do that, and we certainly have enough time if we direct the city attorney to begin work on this, which is what we're proposing to do on Tuesday night, and then we'll have the first and second reading happen in March. So we should be good. Like I mentioned, we also need to reaffirm polling places. None of these have changed, which is good. Ward 1, Fergus Falls Public Library. Ward 2, the YMCA. Ward 3, M-State. And Ward 4 will be at the Bigwood Event Center. So this morning, we certainly will entertain any questions related to the maps, but the direction or the motion we're looking for is having the attorney draft these changes to code and then a resolution on Tuesday night establishing these polling places. So we have both maps, the proposed map here in 2022 on the screen now, and then the other tab is the existing map, which was created 10 years ago in 2012. So I don't know if there's any questions on that, or if folks, certainly take the opportunity between now and Tuesday to look at that closer and see if you have any thoughts.
And it's really on the process, it's not on the map itself. I think just to clarify that that's the staff, there's no political considerations, there's no change, just like the judge panel, or the panel of judges that released the maps yesterday were very clear in their, in their reasoning. It's little changes possible, it's just to simply get the numbers in each district. It's not a political exercise at all, so.
None at all, and that's the main consideration is related to equal population.
Absolutely. Lynn?
Our population did have a pretty significant increase over the last 10 years, but we had a lot of annexations. And then we had that 9th precinct with the Woodland Heights neighborhood. There's about 260 voters there, so that really skewed Ward 2 as being a lot bigger than other wards. So this got rid of that 9th precinct, so we'll have about 5 less judges we have to train and pay and serve election as well. So it'll be a little costly.
Thanks, Lynn. Thanks, Andrew. And I think you mentioned community development, Claire, for your work on this.
And Mark Jorgensen too. I would be off base if I didn't mention his name. He does a lot of work, and he put a lot of different iterations of this together, and we landed on the one that we felt was, like I mentioned, along boundary lines that are easily identifiable, major roads, in ways that folks could clearly understand where they're at and where they're expected to vote.
Sure. And so if anyone has any questions, but this process is changing city code, so it starts, we're making a recommendation to have the city attorney start drafting that language on Tuesday night.
I'll offer that, John.
Thanks, Jim. So
I'll second it.
Thanks, Anthony. Scott, did you have a question?
I haven't seen the maps that were released yesterday, but apparently we're not on any line that the state has drawn to separate districts nothing splits the town like in some cities where you'll have, the town gets divided, into two different districts. We're still wholly within the given districts that were before.
Yeah,
Yeah, we are.
We're right in the middle of 9A House District and 9 Senate District. So we're right in the middle of those.
So we're in a good spot.
It looks a lot different. And
looks-
if you
yeah.
see a map, our new House district,
Grant,
This is-
Wilkin, Traverse counties.
Yep. It's all of Grant, all of Wilkin, all of Traverse, and then basically Fergus, Pelican Rapids, and just very western Otter Tail counties. We are the population center still, but looks much different. Perham and other places in Otter Tail County are no longer within the same House district. And our Senate district also looks a lot different in the sense that Alexandria is now in a different district. Before, we had a shared district with Alexandria, and Senator Ingebrigtsen was the senator. Now it shifts west again, like the House district. So it's going to be interesting.
And there was some efforts by the county to keep the county as a whole. I mean, there's geographic boundary lines and there's communities within the county that work together, and that didn't happen. They did split the Otter Tail County, but it is what it is. Like, they make the maps and we live with them, so.
Yeah, just to reiterate, there were a 5-judge panel at the state level. The legislature was unable to come to consensus.
They have for
map, which
140 years, they haven't been able to draw the maps.
and no surprise to anyone. So I think that that's something to celebrate here on the local level, though, because you guys are able to. I mean, granted, we provide the map, but you're able to say, yeah, this makes sense, and we're not trying to gerrymander. We're not trying to manipulate anything. This is just what makes sense from a numbers perspective. And at the state level, they have to rely on 5 nonpartisan judges to just tell them how it's going to be, and we don't want any part of that. So.
Anyone have any other questions for Andrew or any staff? So we can start this process by making a motion to the council. We have that motion in the second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
And final item on the agenda is an update on the Aquatic Center proposal.
Yeah, thank you, Your Honor. We do have one additional item
Got it.
after, if we have time. So, at the last council meeting, we talked about a proposal from Bolton and Mink related to the Aquatic Center, which had 3 options. After a good discussion, the council really honed their focus in on exploring one of those options, and that was what I would say a compromise option, looking at a aquatic center with a budget of $9 to $11 million. As we talked about last Monday, we currently have authorization from the legislature to seek a sales tax up to $7.8 million, and council asked staff to initiate the legislative action to be able to increase the authorization related to this. That has started. The mayor has had good conversations. I have had good conversations, and the feedback that we've received is they're certainly willing to consider the increase, but to keep it under $10 million. So we will be introducing a bill looking at $9.9 million. So it would go from 7.8 up to 9.9. And then any additional work that Bolton and Mink would do would have to fit that scope. Or like we talked about last time, if the number was higher than that, there would absolutely have to be a fundraising component to cover those additional costs. So that's that. We were asked to provide a revised work scope, including just the option for the $9 to $11 million aquatic center. That is enclosed in your packet for your reference. The number didn't drop as much as you would anticipate, and simply because the third option that was on the last proposal is really work that's already been done. We have the drawings and budget for the previously thought to be $7.8 million project, which is now over $12 million. So by eliminating that option, you didn't really save any money because that work has essentially been done. So the new fee would be a lump sum not to exceed $27,050. As I mentioned, the original fee was closer to $37,000, so about a $10,000 savings by eliminating the first option. There's also an option to add renderings on at an additional fee of $4,000. And I would just say that if we wish to proceed with this work and we intend to put this on the ballot in November, we more or less have to do the renderings, because that's what the public is going to be able to look at and see what we're actually proposing. So if we plan to move forward with this project, I think that's an option that we have to go with. honestly, I think we're at a point where staff needs direction from the whole council as to whether or not they wish to proceed with this work. If we don't proceed with this work, I don't see a path forward to having this on the ballot in November. And if we do proceed with this work, I think it's coupled with the legislative request that we need. It's really the totality of the work that needs to be done to get this thing to a place where it's ready to be voted on. So this would be the last expenditure, the last request the staff would make related to this. We would have all the information we need, the renderings we need. Assuming we have the legislative authorization, we could go forward in November and let the voters decide how we want to proceed. So it's up to the council now if they want to invest this additional $27,000, which with the extra $4,000 is about $31,000 to move forward with this on the ballot this November.
Thanks, Andrew. Questions,
The
comments?
question on the 9.9, then, does that include the interest?
No.
Or is the interest on top of that?
The way the legislation will read, it's 9.9 principal, and then we have the authorization to collect whatever interest payments are necessary, and then cost of issuance. So the dollar amount's actually going to be larger than 9.9 total, but the legislation includes the principal cost of the project.
I'm for Tuesday night. I mean, can we get what that cost will be, and as well as how much we've spent thus far?
Yeah, we probably have that right now.
So to date, we have spent $65,840. So if you add that $31,050, you're up to just about $97,000 total. And
Was there maybe we're going to get to this. There was some funding up front that kind of kicked off that. We're at $20,000, if I remember.
$20,000 left over from the first go around years ago. I think $20,000 is correct.
Sure.
So if we're looking at the Aquatic Center and the Day Lagoon Park, we need to collect sales tax for about 15 years. And we would collect about a total of about $20.5 million over that 15 years for those two projects. So, because that's, we have a principal between the two projects of 15.1 million. You add the bond issuance costs, you're up to about 15.3. Then you add the interest on top, and you're up to that 20.5 for round numbers. So,
Talk about the interest rate.
interest rate, we have in here 3.25, which is higher. If we were to do it exactly today, it'd maybe be around 1.75. But talking with our bonding people, it's of course better to be conservative on this point, and if we see interest rates rising in the coming year, we don't know where they're going to go. So that's why we used 3.25 back when we went to the legislature the first time, so we're just keeping that in at the same time to have a conservative estimate on interest cost.
Scott, did you have a question?
I'd
Comment?
like to make the motion that we go ahead with this, including the 4,000 for the renderings.
Thank you, Scott. Someone like second? Caroline, second? Bring this to the council on Tuesday night. Any questions?
I think, I'll say my comments for Tuesday night, otherwise I'm just going to repeat them. So,
Is there anything additional that council wants between now and Tuesday night related to this, to your comments, or are you just going to make comments?
I mean, mainly comments, but I mean, I wanted obviously the cost that we've spent thus far.
And you're good with that?
And that's good enough. Thank you, Will.
Got it.
Thanks, Anthony. All in favor of the motion to bring this to the council on Tuesday night, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
That motion carries. And the one more item, Brian? Secret item.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. This is in regards to memo that's being handed out right now is in regards to public improvement 9349. This is the airport runway taxiway apron crackfill joint repair project. Consider general maintenance on our taxiway and runway 1331. The project plans, if you recall, SCH, council did authorize SCH to proceed with this project. The project plans are substantially completed. The engineer's estimate of probable cost is about $270,000. Therefore, the city must publicly advertise minimum 10 days of bids. We're planning on setting a bid opening for late February, early March. Once we get these bids, those will be integrated with all of our total project costs. If you recall, airport grant programs prior to the submission, which I know in April 11th, 2022, we have to know all total project costs, which includes our engineering, construction administration, and contract amounts, which is the requested action. This project is reimbursable through the FAA entitlement allocations I received. We're anticipating a rate of 90%, 5% MnDOT share, and 5% local, which will be funded out of our 456 fund. But like I mentioned, I'm just requesting three things: order of project plans and specifications, accept the project's plans and specifications, and authorization to advertise for bids for public improvement 9349. And I'll answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Brian.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Tom. Second, Jim. Thank you. Any questions for Brian? All in favor of moving this to the council, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Thank you, Brian. And I don't believe there's any more business to come before the council, so we're adjourned.
Good job, team.
They have a good meeting over at the BK Broiler.
This girl's gonna be here.
Oh, all right. Andrew.